So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out today to come to this webinar. We're going to spend some time today to talk about how to recession-proof your small business. Some tips, some tricks, some things that you should be thinking about and considering as we look at into 2023 with all the uncertainty that's there. So let's dive in today. Please feel free to ask questions, put it in the chat, put your hand up, and we'll answer those questions. So just a quick introduction for myself. My name is Marguerite Fleming. How are you? I have been in business for a very long time, since 2001. Helped hundreds of customers on their business growth journey. And we're really here to talk to you about what we know is working, what we know will work going forward, and really help you to see how you could take some of these strategies and implement them. We're actually going to be also talking about some potential government opportunities, government grants as well, that are put in place to support our business growth. So just a little bit about us as a business. Been around forever, over 20 years. We have a number of certifications in CRM systems. We do digital marketing. And our real focus here is on really supporting small businesses in our growth. It's something that we truly believe in. What we really believe is that digital, and especially digital marketing, is really, it's critical. And we believe that, when you invest in digital marketing, you become more competitive and you become more sustainable. And our job and our mission really is to partner to support small and medium-sized businesses in their journey and to reduce the risk and ensure that they have a process in place to be able to consistently grow their business. So that's really what we're all about. And we're excited to partner with a number of businesses in this area. So what we're going to cover today in this session, we're going to talk a little bit about common reasons why small businesses fail. We're going to talk about maybe some interesting tidbits from large businesses, name brand businesses who you would know about, who struggled and made a successful comeback, and really taking some things from that to talk about what you can put in place to make sure that your business is recession-proof. Some of the things about businesses. First, let's look at the grim statistics out of the way, right? The ones that are stacked up against that entrepreneurial spirit that spark the small business, it sparks people to go into small business around the world. And, these are some of the things that unfortunately lead to businesses spiraling down to that entrepreneurial valley of death. And undoubtedly, when you take the journey to create a business, there is a lot of risk, but hopefully lots of reward as well. So let's just get these negative things out of the way, right? 82% of small businesses fail, and it's mostly because of cash flow, right? And if that wasn't startling enough, why else do businesses fail? Well, typically, they think they can do everything on their own. So one of the biggest challenges for entrepreneurs is to let go of control and rely on others to help them finish the job. So when entrepreneurs fail to let go and seek help from other people, their businesses can fail because you can't do everything on your own and not do it very well anyways, and not do it for a long time. Right? Some other reasons why businesses are failing, well, they don't have enough capital to start off with. Right? So they are bootstrapping for too long and they just don't have enough cash flow. They don't have enough cash reserves. They lack potentially a well-developed business plan. So they haven't thought through who's their target market, how they're going out there, how they're going to do, how they're going to serve their customers. That kind of piece. Long-term, 77% didn't price properly. So it's either they're not charging enough, or they didn't realize how much their product costs to make and produce and to sell. And so there wasn't enough profit margin in that business in order to sustain it long term. And these are things that need to be in place, right? In order to have a business that can sustain itself long term. 73% fail because they were overly optimistic about how fast it would take them to achieve sales, or how much money they would really need, and maybe what are the different factors that they would need to be successful. And 70% fail because they don't recognize or accept their weaknesses. They don't know, they either haven't identified what they are, or they try to mitigate it, but they don't see the seriousness of their weaknesses. And this could show up in all sorts of ways. It could be not having a big enough target market, or not having packaging in place that's really sustainable. That could be all sorts of different things that might look like weaknesses. Not knowing what your supply is like, not being able to manage costs on the back end, especially right now in the middle of such an inflationary environment. This is critical, and a lot of small businesses are really struggling on the back end of their business. So, at the end of the day, understanding marketing and their customer is the critical piece, right? So starting a business without thoroughly researching and identifying your target markets and ideal customers and customer buying habits can lead to failure. And, when we take a look at why small businesses are struggling, for sure, as I mentioned, it certainly is a clear and defined pricing strategy. And so setting prices too high or low will affect sales. Without that right combination of market trends and product quality and customer demand and product differentiation and correct pricing, like a business will fail. There are so many different factors that go into this, and doing that market research upfront is so critical. So you may have a superior product, but your pricing is, above market, right? And maybe it's well deserved, but customers looking at it don't, what I mean? They don't have any context to know why they should pay more. Or on the other side, right, you may be charging less, but then you don't have enough profit margin to run your operations long term, or you don't have enough to invest in the ongoing marketing that's required inside the business in order to grow your business. So if we see this as being one of the critical pieces in the business, the next piece, and again, any questions or anything, just jump in, right? Not knowing how to plan for financing needs. Most small businesses need an injection of cash at some point, right? So if a business is new, or if you're expanding, or if you're bringing on new products, or you're going to new locations, you need to have sufficient financing. However, that's not enough, right? Miscalculating and underestimating how much you need, or securing the wrong type of financing, can lead to business failure. So there's so many examples here where you can go to the bank, you can get a loan, a small loan, or you can go to another kind of lender, sorry, and the interest rates and the repayment plans are so high that it takes so much out of your cash flow that it's very difficult to finance it with your current sales. So knowing and having that cash injection is critical. Another factor might be anticipating competition and technology or other market changes. So assuming what worked in the past, maybe what worked last year, is always going to work in the future, is really dangerous. So businesses that don't factor in market changes, to competition, changing technology, and the value of experimenting with new ideas are likely to fail. What we see is that a lot of, let's say you do, I don't know, let's say you have a catering company, and there's a lot of changes in the marketplace. You have really good product, but now somebody else opens up another one, and they're able to maybe undercut the pricing a little bit, or they're able to offer easier ordering, or for example, with new technologies. You have to recognize that this is kind of an evolving marketplace, and to be able to stay ahead of it and to be able to really thrive means that we have to continue to invest in growing our business. Now, sometimes you could be super successful at the very beginning, right? You can really, you put something out, you grow really, really fast, but then on the back end, you can't support it, right? So there's a fable, Aesop, right? He was onto something in his classic, The Hare and the Tortoise. While business growth is great and we all want it, right? But slow and steady wins every single time. And it's hard to believe that too much business can lead to failure, but we've seen it for sure. So keep in mind that 80-20 rule, like 80% of your business will come from 20% of your clients. And to focus in on those clients that are really your target market, really the ideal clients that are going to generate 80% of your revenue, and to slowly grow your business so that you provide top level service to them. While it's tempting to kind of go for it all, steady and predictable growth is really what's going to help us, right? That's properly managed. It's going to make sure that you can get a good night's sleep, that your business is healthier, you've got cash flow, and that you grow kind of on a controlled pace, rather than those uncontrolled jumps and spurts in volume. So if you get an order for, 1,000, pieces of jewelry, for example, if you make jewelry, that might hurt your business, right? You may not be able to deliver. And there's nothing worse than getting a great business or getting a great order and never being able to fulfill it, or having an unhappy client at the end of the day. And what it also does is it takes the focus off of running your everyday business. So yes, of course, you want these things to happen, but just being, more judicious with that is what we see happen, and how to support larger, growth, sustainable growth for businesses. So how do larger businesses do it? Well, I know that most people here are not Apple or Starbucks or Best Buy, but there's something to be said for an entrepreneurially minded business owner who stuck it out through the tough times and made some of the greatest comebacks of all time. So let's take a look at a couple of them and see what we can take out of these examples. Apple, who, everybody knows about Apple. Most people know about their story. But when it comes to comebacks, Apple is probably the most well-known success story to date. But for younger generations, this might come as a surprise. You might not know that Apple was on the brink, right? And they're not alone, but Apple certainly was, and they were really a struggling business. So yeah, back in the 80s, they lost $1 billion a year. This well-known tech giant today was really about to go under. And at the time, media was saying, absolutely, it's over for Apple. This is well before, of course, the iPhones and all that kind of stuff. And they just said, hey, there's no way that this company can come back. And after Apple realized that they'd made a mistake letting Steve Jobs go, they made the smart decision to bring him back. And he had this daunting task ahead of him, but that didn't stop him. He acted quickly and took 3 significant steps that turned the company around and made them the household staple that they are today. So this is what he did. First of all, he partnered, right? He partnered with, quote unquote, the enemy, Microsoft. And they came to Apple's rescue with a much needed capital investment of about $150 million in exchange for rights to ship Microsoft Office and Internet Explorer on the Mac. So they did something really unconventional and innovative and really brave, because Microsoft is their key competitor for software. But they recognized that first of all, they needed the cash and that this was going to serve their clients. The second thing that they did is that they nailed down their core product offering. And after seeing consistent success with their core products, they began to diversify their product offerings. They went on to make iMacs, the iPods, and the iPhones, right? So they started off with these really small, if you remember those square-like little computers, that kind of grew like wildfire, but they never stopped growing, and they never stopped innovating. They never stopped coming up with new ideas. We were thankful that they didn't. And then the third thing that they did is that they opened Apple stores so that their products were front and center in the market. And they took their brand from being something a little bit more intangible, or something that maybe only an IT department would purchase and bring into a work environment or a school environment, and they made it more of a retail brand. So by putting Apple stores in malls all over North America, all over the world, actually, they kind of cemented themselves as this consumer brand. They really raised awareness with people and really made a direct connection with them so people could come to them, more easily. And that really served their marketplace. They really understood their customers wanted more person-to-person care. So if you were to buy a computer from, I don't know, at that point, maybe Toshiba or IBM or whoever, you would still have to work through, those big retail stores like the Best Buys of the world, et cetera. Apple Store has allowed you to go direct to them, to ask them questions, to try out the computers. They'd let you spend as much time on them, answer your questions, and really, really cemented it. So what they did is they really understood their customers. So you can see these three things. They diversified their financing by licensing, okay? They offered more in different products, and they kept on investing in innovation. And then they understood their customer, what their customers really wanted, which was to be able to touch and feel their product, and they opened up the Apple stores. So that's really cool. And as a small business owner, I think what we should really take away from all of this is, maybe you don't have relationships with large corporations the way that Steve Jobs did, but there's a few things that we can really learn from this. The first thing is, number one, don't be afraid to make a difficult decision to get your business back on track. And that might mean to cut costly projects and expenses. This may mean letting people go. This may mean delaying investments in products or services or whatever it might be that you're looking at. If you're in the middle of it and you're looking and the future looks a bit uncertain, make a difficult decision, because those difficult decisions will sustain you long term. The second takeaway was to experiment, and you saw that. Now one of their core values at Apple was to continue to invest in innovation. And so they kept on trying, and they kept on investing money back from their profits into new product development. So don't be afraid to experiment, to keep trying to serve different markets. If you fail, it's okay, of course. You just learn from it and quickly adjust your strategy. But by not experimenting and by saying, hey, we only do this one thing and we're going to do this well, that's where you could kind of leave, yourself behind. So experiment, try new business models, try new pricing models, try new products, try new ways to reach your customer, try new different types of marketing, experiment. And you'll see that you will differentiate yourself from the marketplace and potentially open up a brand new market. And the third takeaway I would say from this Apple case study is, if your product or service isn't selling well, go back to the drawing board, right? First, make sure you're targeting the right audience, and that they have a need for your product or service. And if the issue isn't really with your audience, then make sure your product or service is solving the problem that it is intended to solve at the price point that your customers will accept, right? If not, it's time to make a change. And I think this is some of the things that you can do with market research. Is my market willing to pay for this type of product or service, and how much? And is my product attractive enough to that target market? And the fourth thing I would take away from this is, when you're looking at adding a product or service, when you do that, that might be all you need, okay, to turn things around for your business. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a big product launch like an iPhone or something like that. Maybe it could be something smaller, but it's really differentiated and really different. And maybe that is the one thing that really, opens up the market for you and really helps customers know who you are and the value of what you do. So we see this, if it's in food, maybe you become a specialist in one specific type of food offering. And hey, people, although you can cater and do everything, people know you for maybe one thing that you do really, really well and really, really different. And they come to you for that. And then they'll come to you for the rest of the catering services as well. So just consider it. Think about that. It's all over it's applicable to every single business. So, there's lots to take away from Apple, and there's a lot of really great books written about it. So, if you want to take a deeper dive, please do. It's always really interesting and very useful. But let's talk a little bit about Starbucks, okay? Another big brand name that we all know. So back in 2008, Starbucks wasn't the largest coffee retailer that it is today. They were struggling with a financial meltdown as a result of growing too fast. And they were stumbling on their own 2 feet, right? So if you have growing pains, they know growing pains, right? So in 2008, when the economic slowdown hit, people were looking for cheaper options for their everyday cup of coffee. And while quality is great, and Starbucks coffee has always been positioned to be on the more pricey side of it, right? And as a result, people were, they were forced to close 977 shops and cut 18,000 jobs at that time in 2008. Now, Howard Schultz, who returned as a CEO after being away for 8 years, on his return, the economic conditions continued to worsen for a while. And he realized that the rapid growth that he had made, in opening up Starbucks coffee stores, like that was their thing, is to open it up in every corner, made everyone forget about how they make their shops inviting and how they, create new products and maybe new experiences for the customers. So they were so focused on expansion, they forgot about their customer. Okay. And they were facing competition from lower price coffee providers like Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's, and here in Canada from Tim Hortons and so on. And he knew that he had to shake things up to save the company. So the immediate actions that Howard Schultz took when he returned were, number one, he trimmed the fat. Okay, let's move through here. He trimmed the fat by closing shops that weren't doing well. Okay. He asked his employees to send him emails with suggestions for improving their shops. So, he went down to the front lines and he said, hey, you see people coming in and out every day, you talk to them. What do you suggest? What do you think we should do? And his employees made some really great suggestions about creating a different type of experience for the customer as they came into the stores. They also closed stores. So they said, hey, let's focus in on training our staff. And they closed stores as, for a portion of a day, perhaps, to train people on making do in different types of products and innovative products, right? He re-strategized the company's advertising campaign with a strong focus on social media. So he recognized that his target market, were on social media, and that was and the brand needed to connect with people who and where they were, right? So they were on social media, and they needed to connect with people where they were and talk about their brand and talk about the experience. So some of the key takeaways from Starbucks and from the Starbucks journey is that although they lost focus during their rapid growth, they were able to regain it quickly, right? And they started brewing the right blend that took them from struggling, and having this really bleak outlook in 2008 to the largest coffee retailer in the world, right? So what are the key takeaways? Well, go back to what made you great in the first place. So, if you were struggling, if you're at this place where you're like, oh, I'm not really sure where to go, just sit back and kind of think, what was it that made people want to work with me in the first place, right? What is that? And for Starbucks, it was that personalized experience and the product, and giving people really great service. That's actually what got lost along the way when they were expanding. And they went back to that and said, well, let's make sure that what we can offer to our customers is a really personalized coffee, right? And all sorts of different types of, variations. So that was really what got them back on track. And then the second takeaway I think we should talk about here is they got back to basics, right? They didn't stop innovating. They went back, they thought about new products that they could offer. They started talking to their employees about how they could sort of change the look and the feel and the culture within their stores. And they actually made a change to the workflow within the actual restaurant. So, they sort of shifted around how coffee got made. They took a look at what was consuming too much time or money, and they decided to build a different approach. And I think that really paid off for them. So embracing new technology, new workflows by listening to their employees and listening to their customers really made Starbucks the organization, the company that it is today. And so the last company that, hey, everybody knows about, big brand name, obviously Best Buy. So again, 2012. So that wasn't that long ago. It's 10 years ago. They were nearing bankruptcy, and they were faced with increasing online retailers and that online shopping continually on the rise. These brick and mortar retailers were really feeling the impact in their pocketbooks. And especially retailers like a Best Buy that have very low margins, right? So at that point in time, they were headed towards bankruptcy, like their former competitor, Circuit City, right? And here in Canada, if you remember Future Shop, same thing, right? There was people started just shopping online, like why go into a store? But the good news is that Best Buy was able to turn itself around to become the largest brick and mortar electronics retailer in North America. And in 2012, they brought a new CEO after a couple of years of declining sales and problems with their former CEO. So their new CEO, Hubert Joly, launched a Renew Blue strategy, which focused in on the fundamentals of the business. And Hubert Joly took these 3 steps to save their company. He tactfully closed low-performing stores and cleaned up disorganized stores. Okay, so went back to the basics, and he said, let's look at the numbers. Let's make those painful decisions. If a product or service or store in this case is not performing, we need to close it down. Okay. He also introduced exclusive Best Buy products and new services. So things like price matching. If you found it on Amazon or wherever else at the exact same thing at a lower price, they would price match. If you were going to get things, buy things online, they would offer faster delivery, things like that, right? And they were looking for new ways to improve the customer experience in a way that online only stores could not do. And they created this customer-centric more approach, right? Where people can come in and touch and feel, kind of like the Apple stores, right? Touch and feel the product before they buy it, talk to an expert, make sure that what they're buying, their investment that they're making is really well suited to their business, to their, what their needs are. And then the third piece here is that they integrated the online and in-store experience to accommodate various buyers' journeys. So they recognize that not, many people wanted to do a lot of research online, but just before they wanted to buy, they want to go in and talk to someone. And then there's some people who just felt completely comfortable buying online. And then there were people who never wanted to buy online, right? And they really needed to figure out how to accommodate all of the different ways that people wanted to buy, and how to integrate that and offer really great service all the way through. So as we take a look at that, some of the key things that I think we could take away from this case study here, they completed their Renew Blue strategy, and now they're focusing on further growth and deciding where they want to go from here. So the biggest thing here is to, number one, evolve with the changing market, right? So take a look at what's happening in our markets, what might be changing, what's shifting, what are some of the trends, thinking about different ways that you can start offering your product or service maybe in a different way. Instead of making your customers come to you, maybe you give them the option or convenience to go to them. All right, so this could be, hey, we used to have a retail store. We asked people to come in, and maybe you continue to do that, but maybe you offer an in-home service as well, and you can charge them for that. We recently had a conversation with a customer who was an optician, and you have your stores, your eyeglass stores, and people typically go in. But then they were thinking, hey, this might be an opportunity, especially for people who are, seniors, or for whatever other reason, they didn't want to come into the store. Can we offer like a premium service where we go to their home and fit them with glasses bring their glasses for them, clean their glasses, fix their glasses, fit their glasses. Would people pay for that? And it's quite interesting because it's something that it is very differentiating for that marketplace because it isn't being offered, and can really support them in their growth. So the second thing that we should take away from this is that, Best Buy, what they did is they invested in that client experience. So when you're competing against online retail giants like the Amazons of the world, who put billions towards super fast delivery or robot technology, don't give up hope, right? Put your time and effort into the human factor. So the human factor is what Best Buy identified. But hey, there are a whole segment of buyers who do not feel comfortable buying online. Maybe they lack the knowledge or the confidence to make those kind of purchases all on their own. And they really want to talk to somebody about it. And they need to touch and feel it before they want to make that investment. So by understanding how you can create that personalized experience for your customers, that's what Best Buy did, and it worked really, really well for them. And that's really how they differentiated themselves from many of the only online vendors. And so the third thing here is to, reduce costs without making a lot of noise, right? Don't tell people, hey, we're going to do this, that, and the other, right? So making a comeback usually requires being really ruthless with cutting costs, and finding creative ways to reduce costs that go unnoticed, perhaps by your clients. And the same goes for employees. So take into consideration that working with you and working for you is their livelihood, and only lay off employees as a complete last resort. There are many other ways to save money, and those should be considered first, in our experience. So hopefully that was interesting and helpful. I think there's always some gems that we can always take out from looking at what other people do and have done that's been successful. And even if you're not a large multi-billion-dollar corporation like an Apple or Starbucks or Best Buy, we could still learn from them. And I think that there was a number of key takeaways from looking at their businesses that everyone can utilize going forward, right? So the question here is, now what do we do with all of that, right? How can we take action in your business? Let's take a quick look, right? There's a number of things that we need to put in place. First of all, shifting our mindsets. So before we do anything else, the first thing we have to do is to shift the way that we think about our business and think about, the future. So when our business is struggling, especially, it's easy to feel hopeless and look at the glass half empty. But if you want to make a comeback, you have no choice but to change your mindset. So although that's easier said than done, okay, especially when your inner voice is saying like, hey, you're going to fail, your inner voice keeps talking to you, oh, you're not going to make it, right? Or you don't have the courage, or there's no point in even trying anymore. Those negative thoughts, they can cycle around, but you have to silence them, okay, in order to be able to make this comeback and to have clarity about what to do. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing is to really just acknowledge that this voice is actually happening. So sometimes just articulating it and say, hey, I'm really feeling like I'm not going to make it here. Okay. And acknowledging is that first step, right? So when you pay attention to the number of times your inner voice is getting in your way throughout the day, you're going to be surprised how often it is. It's rearing its ugly head, and it's preventing you from doing amazing things. It's really distracting you. The second thing we should do is really challenge it. So when you're hearing all those things in your head saying you're not going to make it, it's not going to work, whatever, you can challenge it and you say, hey, is that really true? Right? Is that really true? Can I not make it? Or is it over or whatever, right? So you're going to challenge it. That's our first step. And then the third thing to do is silence it. So once you've nailed acknowledging and challenging your inner voice, learn to silence it. And one thing you can do to do that is to imagine that you have this remote control on your inner voice. And when it rears its ugly head, right, you just kind of silence it with this remote control, right? So every time these thoughts are like, you can't do it, it's not going to work, you're not going to make it, you just turn it off. And the last thing is to fight back, right? So replace that negative dialogue and say, no, I can do this. No, there is going to be a way. No, I am going to figure this out, right? I am strong enough. I am going to make it out. right? And this positive, flexible mindset is going to help you take on other things um, that you can do to save your business, and is going to give you that the ability to see new opportunities and to be able to assess, maybe new products or services or ways to serve your customer, and it will increase your confidence. Now, the second thing that we can do is performing a SWOT analysis. And a SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right? So doing a SWOT analysis is a strategic exercise that you can go through. And it's helpful. It's a helpful exercise that you can use to analyze your current performance and identify things that are going wrong. And you can discover where potentially you can make improvements. So, when you're looking at your strengths, what are you doing well? Your weaknesses, hey, where are the biggest gaps? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the numbers. Let's take a look at our customer sat. Let's talk to some customers. What are we not doing well here? Where's the market going? Where could I potentially have a bit of a niche? Where's my opportunity? And hey, you know what? Let's just be realistic. What are some of those big overhanging threats out there in the market? Is there shifts and changes in the way that people buy? Is there a new competitor? Like, what are my big threats that I need to think through in order to make this come back? And then the third thing you want to do is to understand your target market and ideal client. So you do that. The more that you know about your target market and ideal client, the better you're able to understand where you should be and where you should be focusing your efforts. What the market is looking for, what are their needs, their pain points, and then talk about the product or service that can solve those pain points and solve those problems for your client, and develop a strategy that's really the right fit for your business. And then the fourth thing is to set smart objectives and create a plan. So when you're taking a look at your smart objectives, this is going to help keep you focused. And these smart objectives, SMART stands for being specific, right? So S for specific, so clear enough. Measurable as the M, right? You can determine when it's complete. It's achievable. It can be accomplished. It's relevant, right? It's connected to your overall game plan, and it's time bound. So whatever projects you take on, whatever plans, make sure that they are SMART plans or SMART objectives and SMART goals, things that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And just spending the extra time to make sure and check that off makes such a big difference, because you can feel much more confident when you make a decision to move forward once you've done this analysis. And then the fifth area that you can consider is looking at how to reduce costs and prioritize what you pay. Now, to keep your business open, most likely you're going to need to trim the fat or reduce costs. And so you start by cutting discretionary or unnecessary expenses, and then looking at areas that you can cut, like travel expenses or reducing your utilities usage to lower your monthly bills. If you're renting office space, maybe you talk to your landlord and see if they'd be willing to reduce the rent or renegotiate your lease. And then the last place you may want to cut costs is people, as we've talked about before. If you find yourself really in a tough spot, then maybe try reducing hours and compensation before really having to lay people off. And looking for ways to manage your cash flow. So as you know from the statistics we mentioned at the beginning of this guide, 82% of small businesses fail because of cash flow issues. It probably comes as no surprise that without consistent cash flow, businesses will eventually dry up and fail. So creating a cash flow forecast is so important, so that you have insight into what's coming in and what's going out. So you should use this forecast to project likely sales and expenses, so that you know how much money you have in your bank account and all the bills that need to be paid and when. So you're going to need to really hone in and manage that cash flow more efficiently. Make sure that you send out your invoices on time. Maybe put in some kind of payment processing so you can get paid like right away as soon as you complete a service or as soon as you sell a product. You can certainly streamline these tedious processes. There's so many different apps out there right now and options for payment processing and invoicing that it'll help you save time and help you to get paid faster. And the seventh thing, if this is where you're at, make sure to talk to your creditors. Don't ignore them. So if you're getting those calls because of bills that are sort of starting to stack up, don't ignore it, right? And if you're like most small business owners, you probably have debt to pay. Many business owners see debt as a sign of failure, but in reality, small businesses who have debt have higher credit scores, right? So just make sure that you're paying it on time or that you've negotiated with those creditors, right? Try not to feel too overwhelmed by outstanding debt or avoid creditors, because that really only makes things 100% worse. When you talk to them, you tell them your situation and make a plan on how to pay your debt. Most creditors are understanding and they're willing to work with you if they're confident that you're eventually going to pay them, because they would rather work with you to do that than have you completely default on the loan. And the eighth thing here is to organize your business. Many times organization is often overlooked by business owners, but that lack of organization not only results in measurable losses like lost time and money, but it negatively affects your business reputation. And it certainly adds a significant amount of stress to your business. So taking time to organize your business, put things into a project management tool, put things into like an e-commerce system, whatever it might be, make sure you've got your invoicing and accounting and things like that done. It's going to lower your stress levels and free up your time so that you can spend that on looking for ways to grow your business. The ninth tip here is to stop wasting time on repetitive tasks. Look, as a small business owner, hey, we all have a ton of things on our plate. So there's a lot of repetitive tasks that go into running a small business. So these are things like take a lot of valuable time when they're done manually. It could be email, it could be invoicing, it could be all sorts of different things that we do, ordering. So when repetitive tasks are automated, it really saves up money. It saves up our time and our money, and make sure that we can focus in on the things that are really truly going to grow our business. And last but not least is to make sure that our focus is always on our clients. Keeping clients satisfied and happy has never been more important than it is today. We live in a world where people demand more. And if business owners don't meet that increasing expectation, people will voice their opinion on social media sometimes and go elsewhere, right? So if they're not happy, it's not something that they, will only keep to themselves. Tools like Keep or like, a whole bunch of project management tools on the back end, they make it possible for small businesses to deliver personalized service and really create happy customers. So over and above all of this, what you think and what you do at the end of the day matters. Okay. Your character as a business owner and as a person matters. It's paramount in what you do as a business owner. And if your small business is up against the odds, right, it can feel it can sometimes feel discouraging, right? It can get you down and your confidence may take a tumble, right? I've certainly been there. I've been in business for a long time. So it's hard not to feel down when you've worked so hard to achieve something and that is at risk. However, doubting your abilities will only negatively impact your business, and they're only going to negatively impact any chance you have for coming out of it. So remember that running a small business can be one of the most challenging and the most rewarding things that you can do. Failure is a natural part of running a business, but it hasn't stopped entrepreneurs in the past. So it shouldn't get in your way either. In fact, statistically speaking, entrepreneurs who previously failed twice are twice as likely to succeed compared to first-time entrepreneurs. So changing your mindset, believing in yourself, and looking at these tough times as a learning experience can only help you stay out of the rut. Really quickly, characteristics of a small business owner. First of all, they're knowledgeable. They look for ways to be disruptive. They're persistent and they're humble. So, knowledgeable business owners, they know what their market value is. They make sure there's demand for their product or service before they develop it. And, they're disruptive because they are coming into the market and they're looking for what's going to set them apart. How can they serve their customer in a unique way? How can they provide some unique value? You have to be persistent. And I'm sure everyone who's on this call is, as a small business owner, this persistence is key. They stay strong. They don't give up. They keep going, even when, that inner voice keeps telling you maybe you should give up, but you keep going, right? And, humble. They're humble. You have to be humble, right? You have to rely on mentors and communities to guide you. And both when you're starting out and also all the way through the journey. Like there's no question that quality relationships are almost always at the heart of any strong business. And getting people's feedback and learning from them is critical. So I would say that the core value in all of this is to keep going, right? So with the information we shared in this presentation, I hope that you could start taking action and making a difference in your business today. And it really, at the end of the day, it begins with you, right? Shifting your mindset in order to boost the effectiveness of your actions. So, chin up. My business friends who are on the line here, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Try something different. Go there. Try it out. Try out a new product. Try out a new pricing model. Try out a new way of advertising, right? Try something different. Try a new positioning. Make something of yourself. Because we know that you went in business to make a difference. And that's what you need to focus on, right? There's all sorts of really great, inspiring stories of outstanding businesses and how they, overcame this hashtag. So if you just, use this hashtag if you want to, and, keep going as a hashtag, you'll be able to find some really great inspirational stories if you're looking for that. So, that's a lot. And, where do we go from here, right? What's next? Well, I'm hoping that you take some real great tips out of the information that we've shared so far. But, if in fact getting in front of customers, so if acquiring customers is your key challenge, that's really, something that we might be able to support you with, right? So if what you're looking for is for ways to work smarter, not harder, to get a system in place, to put that predictable stream where you can get these high quality leads, right? You're looking at really high, fast growth, looking at maybe doubling or tripling your business over the, next coming years. Then, perhaps what we offer is exactly maybe what you need. And the way that we like to position the work that we do with our customers is that we know that in order to drive that business and to get those things, get that predictable stream of revenue, what you need is, first of all, an attractive message. And when we look at and when we work with our clients, we typically use this framework, right, of life cycle marketing, where we're taking a look at all the way from what are you doing to attract your message, who's that target market? What are you doing to attract them? Well, how are you bringing them into your sales cycle? How are you engaging with them? What are you looking to offer? All the way to how do we create, after you've done the work for them, how do we create real fans for your business who are going to spread the great word, spread the word about your business to others? And we see this as kind of like a flywheel, if you want, or a roadway where, the more customers you have who really love the work that you do, who are willing to, give you good reviews, the easier it is to continue to grow your business. So that first piece is really all about customer insights and doing target marketing, creating that attractive offer, really looking at your branding, optimizing your online presence, right? And making sure that what customers see is really aligned to what they need, right? So it's solving the problem that they have and making sure that message is out there and is really sort of laser focused to them. What we know is, especially if we're selling anything to other businesses, but it's also selling directly to consumers as well, that people they place a greater trust in that human voice. So that's why reviews are so important and they're so powerful. We know that executives, we know that decision makers, we know that buyers are looking online, just like we do when we go on Amazon. We're taking a look at the reviews, right? We're looking, if you're going to, rent a hotel, you're taking a look at the reviews first to see what other people think, right? And you're basing quite a bit of your decisions on that. So we need to focus in when we work with our clients on this aspect of it, because social sellers outsell their peers. People who invest in making sure that they have those reviews are the ones that see their business grow long term, right? And we know that you can be charging a lot more if you have really great reviews. If people know that they can trust you or believe that they can trust you and believe that you provide a really good service or product, we know that you can even charge a premium for that. So does that make sense? Everything good so far? Everyone like that? Okay, good, good. The second thing that you could do is to create a predictable source of leads and repeatable sales process, um, is to make sure that customers know, this is all part of your messaging, that there's a clear cause and effect between activities and leads. So this is for you to know how to grow your business. So how much money do I have to spend? How many leads do I need to get in order to, how many prospects, how many people who walk into my store, whatever it is, what do I need to have? What do I need to invest in order to get the sales that I need to grow my business? And to have that kind of clear cause and effect between those two things is really critical. So that, hey, if I invest $1 in Google Ads or invest $1 in whatever, in email marketing, that I'm going to get, $5 out on the back end. And creating that really clear link is really critical in order to grow, because then right? You can sort of put that into your plan. And you don't have to overcomplicate it. It's not that complicated, but it does take a little bit of time to do this and some work and focus. Okay, but really a critical part. So what we do is that we support customers to identify a primary outreach strategy, whatever it might be. It might be Google business listings, it might be Google AdWords, it might be LinkedIn, it might be social media platforms, it might be looking, your industry might do really well with different types of referral strategies, so we can do that. Content strategies, whatever that might be, or live events. So, based on that research, we kind of match that to where is your customer, how do they respond, where are you going to get the highest ROI, and let's try and understand, if you invest in one thing, what the outcome would be on the back end. Okay, and making sure that we can convert those prospects that we generate into qualified sales meetings. So at the end of the day, if you've got a retail store, you're going directly to customers, you want to know, what is it going to take? What kind of advertising do I need to invest in order to bring people into my store? If you're doing things directly with other businesses and you're looking at qualified sales meetings, that is the measure in which we will use. Okay. And a focus in on making sure to build up your reviews and case studies. Really critical part of this, because we know as you invest in that, you'll get more customers. So this repeatable sales process, you do have to be intentional about it. But when you do it, you will see your business grow over time. And this is part of what we learned in those case studies, right? The companies that went back to the drawing board and really reevaluated what they were doing and took some new actions, saw the biggest returns. So if this is something that is of interest, if you're looking at, how to create this predictable revenue stream, right? And putting something in practice, then this is really, I think, for you. Because the truth is, with marketing, you have to engage in it, right? You can think about it, you can plan it all you want, but you actually have to do it. And to put into some accountable marketing support is really critical. So that is what we wanted to offer you. We know that what business owners need is accountable support. They need to think through these processes. They need to implement some of these processes. And that's really what we offer. Okay, we offer a dedicated resource to help you with that. So if this is something that's on your mind, if driving new business, if growing your business is one of your key priorities, this is something that we can certainly help you with. And we do have a program, we call it our Digital Accelerator. We will offer these resources, we'll offer you support in order to implement them. And we can do this, we can get this up and running usually within 12 to 14 weeks. So if that is of interest to you, hold on, because there's actually some ways that maybe there's a couple of government programs that might be able to support it. There are a number of granting and hiring programs that are out there, and we can certainly point you in the right direction. So there is quite a few ways to hire students or people who are looking for work experience. they come into your organization, and what we can do is we can train them on their digital marketing using the Canada Job Grant. Okay, so if that's something that you're interested in, please let us know. In addition, there is a new program called the Canada Digital Adoption Program. How does that work? There's two streams, one for businesses that are customer facing. So if you're directly going business to consumer, this grant is for you. You have to have at least $30,000 in income in one of the previous 3 years, but they'll give you a grant of up to $2,400 to support your business growth. And you can use some of that towards doing your digital marketing plan, which is great. And if your business is over $500,000 in revenue, then you can qualify for the Boost Your Business Technology Grant, which will give you money towards building a digital advisory plan and access to a 6-year interest-free loan, and a couple of other really nice things like a free internship opportunity for your business. So just want to check in, make sure that everyone is following and that it makes sense. And we wanted to make sure that you have access to this opportunity, because we know in working with the clients that they've wasted months and months of their lives and sometimes thousands and thousands of dollars in marketing programs, and they don't have a lot to show for it at the end of the day. And we didn't want this to happen to you. So for sure, we have an invitation for you. It is no risk. There's no obligation at all. Just to book a call with us if it makes sense, if it's interesting, if this is something that that you need to invest in order to grow your business. And what we will do is that we will give you a custom tailored strategy. Again, it's free, okay? But at the end of it, what you'll have is some actionable recommendations that you can take into your business. For sure, you want to avoid all the mistakes, right? You don't want to invest in something where you don't get the results. We certainly don't want you to do that either. And we want to show you what our approach is, because that's our commitment. We don't want you to be investing in something where you don't see that return. And you don't need to necessarily reinvent the wheel, right? You can, use a system in which our previous customers have used in the past in order to get there. So yes, there is an investment. Obviously, you have to invest time. And if you decide to invest in marketing, there's an investment there. But it is something that you need to do in order to grow your business. And there might be some additional support that's out there in order to help subsidize it. So just right on time. It's amazing. I want to say thank you. And thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for, being part of this conversation. I hope that you really got some value out of this, that you got some really strong takeaways from the conversation that we have and case studies that we reviewed, that you keep going, keep addressing that negative inner voice sometimes, okay, that you take action and that you move forward to grow your business. So again, this free consultation is available to you. Please go on our website, growthfinderpro.com/contact us. On the contact page, you'll see us there. Or if you'd like to call me directly or send me an email directly, I'm happy to book a time that makes sense. And again, this is no obligation, not an issue. All we're going to do is take a look at where you're at, where you'd like to be, and what is available for you, perhaps from a granting program, maybe there's a training program, whatever it is, and we'll see how we can support your business. So with that, I'll say thank you, and I appreciate your attention, and I'll open the floor up to any questions, and I'll stop recording now.